Hey everyone, welcome back to the Finance Things in Life. I'm Matt, along with Sean Hantes, one of our advisors here at the Pitti Group. And today we're going to be talking about money in motion. So, a lot of people changing jobs, maybe starting a new career. There's been layoffs that we've been talking about lately. So want to kind of throw some things out there for listeners to kind of pay attention to when they find themselves in that position.
Absolutely. Great topic, Matt.
Thanks. So, Sean, you've been in the business for
going on 10 years now.
10 years now. Yeah.
I mean, it pales in comparison to your 20, but
right. Yes. Time flies, right? When you're having fun.
Absolutely.
So, one of the things that, comes up probably the most is people have retirement plans at their former employer.
Yep.
And a lot of times they often forget about them, right?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. All the time. I mean, you could find people that have changed jobs, 4 or 5 times over the past couple of years, and they're all at the same employer. Right. Oh my goodness.
It's and it's funny, and I don't know why people forget about them or leave them. It's not top of mind. I think, starting that new position is probably
it's a good point.
What they're most worried about. And then, they're going through training and they're like, oh, we offer a 401k. And they're like, cool, let me sign up.
Yeah.
And, they start their new 401k without kind of thinking about their old one.
Absolutely.
But, the problem with that is that often, one, you forget about them.
Yep.
So your investments are kind of sitting there. You're no longer contributing to them.
Yep.
Decisions within the plan are being made, and sometimes you're not often privy to them.
Yep.
You're maybe not getting the notifications.
Good point.
And so that account might not be doing what it should be doing or what you want it to be doing.
Sometimes 401k providers change hands, and then who knows what you're invested in after that.
Right. Yeah. So, I don't know if you have any examples or someone that kind of recently.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to start with, what are their options?
Sure. Yeah.
And then I'll get into the story.
All right. Sure. Yeah. All right. So options.
Yes.
You can leave the plan there if they allow it. Sometimes they may force you out. Especially if your balance is below a certain amount.
Yep.
You can roll it to an IRA, or, sometimes you can even roll it to the new plan.
Yep.
And there's pros and cons to each. And really, one may make sense more than the other. But it really is important to kind of look at every different situation, because although you might want to just consolidate because you don't want 2 accounts or 3 accounts, consolidation might not be the best solution for you, especially if your new plan has limited investment options, if it's expensive, maybe you're limited as far as what kind of investments you have in there. So maybe they don't offer a Roth 401k and you have a Roth 401k at your old employer.
Absolutely.
So, those are the kinds of the things to kind of keep in mind and think about.
Also, another thing to consider, if any of people have been, looking up like mega Roth contributions, some of these plans do allow it, others do not. So that's also something to keep in mind if that's something you're looking to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So really, leaving, if I had to, I'm not going to rank, all of them, but I really think leaving the plan at your old employer is probably the last thing anyone wants to do. I think it's, you can consolidate, whether it's into an IRA or into your new 401k, but at least you can kind of keep track of it and what's going on.
Absolutely.
By leaving it in your old 401k, you may not realize that your beneficiaries are incorrect, right? If you're not getting that statement, it's reminding you, maybe you get married, maybe you get divorced, maybe you have contingent beneficiaries, and and then you have a new baby, and now one of your children getting left out.
Yeah.
it's easy to kind of forget about who's listed if it's not top of mind. So,
or you could just forget about the account entirely. Like you said, I mean,
right.
You switch names, you get married, you switch address. I mean, anything can happen.
Yeah.
You stop receiving those mailings, don't get any emails. You just might forget about it.
It's funny that one time I had a client and they had an old 401k. They got remarried.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't update their name on their old 401k.
Natural.
And so instead of it being a simple process, we had to submit marriage certificate, driver's license, updated paperwork. Yep. It's
a nightmare.
Oh, yeah. And the 401k seems to be the last thing, that you want to take care of, or it's, not even top of mind, and now you have to do extra work on it.
That's the thing. It's like if you had just taken care of it when it was top of mind, you wouldn't have to do all this extra work.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it's, that's why I think leaving it at the old employer, probably the last thing you want to do.
Yeah, I get the, keep things in different baskets or, have different plans with different investments, but it's very easy to still do that, either rolling it to a new 401k or rolling it to an IRA.
Yeah. Yep. So, do you have any horror stories, funny stories, things that...
I wish I had funny stories.
Yeah.
They're usually not great stories. I remember one of my first clients that I brought on, we were looking at his old 401k, and I mean, this is like 2018. He was just turning 60 years old. Maybe he had, $200K in the account, and he, wasn't interested in doing anything with it. But for whatever reason, he was like, I'm going to send you the statement. Like, let's take a look at it together. And I'm so glad he did, because what we found, like 70% of his account was in one holding. And guess what that holding was? A money market fund. So, yeah. I mean, as you know, in 2018, rates were like, if you could get a 2% CD, you were like, oh my gosh, right. That's amazing.
2% might have been high.
Yeah, exactly. So, he was getting next to nothing on like a huge chunk of his money. I was so happy that I was able to, meet him where he was and help him just roll that over into an IRA, just make it grow. He's actually, he turns 68 next year, and he wanted to get from 200K to 400K. And now with what he's doing with his current 401K and what we're doing with our IRAs here, he'll have like well over 600K, which is not what he was expecting, but he is so happy that he, took my call, agreed to the meeting, and, made the changes that allow him to retire much sooner than he thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, it's little things like that, and, in his case, he may have been closer to retirement, so he might have been at a job that he'd been there for years.
Yeah.
And, it might make up a large portion of your nest egg. And if it's not invested properly,
yes,
it could be detrimental to your retirement, to your net worth, and meeting your goals. So, that's why it's so important to make sure that if you are going to leave your 401k at an old employer, that you're staying on top of it. You might, like we said, forget about it, start focusing on the new one, focus on your IRAs, and then that big chunk of your nest egg is invested inappropriately, incorrectly, and we see it too many times.
Yeah, if you look at it from the other side, if he had done nothing, who knows? It might have grown to 220,000 maybe.
Right.
If he had been lucky, that's over 8 years of not growing. That's what would happen. And instead of planning on retirement at 68, who knows if it's 72, 73, maybe he passes like, at age 71 and never had time to just retire and enjoy life. Like, it's
Yeah.
life changing.
Yep. Yeah. And it's, and the other thing when it's at an old employer is that there's often times where the plan is getting reviewed and investments are falling out of favor. So the plan can change, right? They can go to a new provider. They could swap out of different funds. And when, they make those changes, your investments are automatically moved.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And they might choose a default fund as a target date, or they might remove the fund share class that you're in and choose something differently. So your investments might not even match what you originally intended for them to be invested in. So all those little things come into play that you normally don't think about, when you're not actively managing a hands-on approach.
So so much about this. Why is that?
Well,
just because,
right.
So talking about, changing investments because, a Pitti group.
Right. I mean, we manage 401ks,
Yeah.
right? And so we have experience within that industry, that field.
Yeah.
We often see it, with the employees that we're working with, and working with the terminated employees to kind of make sure that they know all their options, and we've helped employees that are no longer with that company, whether it's stay there because that's what they want to do, roll it to an IRA, or help them transition it to their new employer, because we want to see everyone be successful, and those little things, like you said, with your client, those little things can make a huge amount of difference in their success rate.
Absolutely.
So,
now I shared an example, so I got to hear one from you. Come on.
Oh,
you have to have some juicy stories.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I've probably mentioned it before with, kind of your investments. Well, I'm trying to think what I should share. So how about this? When you leave, and this isn't affecting the employee or the person that owned the account per se, but the beneficiaries.
Okay.
So, and this wasn't a client of ours, but it was a client of ours' brother.
Okay.
Had an old 401k,
Yeah.
and he was working. He had gone through a divorce. He had left that employer, started a new 401k, was working there, passed away.
Wow.
Right? Unfortunately, he was fairly young. He was never remarried, didn't have any kids. But his sister, who was a client of ours, when they went to kind of handle his finances, they realized that the old 401k that he had forgotten about was left to his ex-wife.
No.
And it's things like that that you often don't think about.
Yeah.
Especially when the account's somewhere else.
See, you read about that online. You're like, that could never happen to somebody.
Yeah, and but it's true. It happens more than you can imagine.
Yeah.
And it's something that you don't think is going to happen to you, but life comes at you fast. Things change. I had a client that had a 401k that they were contributing to. They were still working there. They had their spouse as the beneficiary. They had their son as the contingent beneficiary. Everything looks good, right?
Of course.
Well, 3 years ago, they had their second child.
Okay.
Right? And, when taking the time to review their 401k, your beneficiary is up to date. Yeah, great. Okay, why don't we just take a look at them just to make sure?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like you just have, Johnny listed as your contingent beneficiary. What about Jimmy? And they're like, oh, I forgot. Can you imagine? It's like it makes sense to do that annual review.
Absolutely.
With your advisor on your current 401k, your IRA beneficiaries, your previous 401ks if you have that. So, it's not just the investments; it's who you're leaving the account to as well.
It's funny you bring that up. So I just rolled over an old 401k for a new client, and on the 401k he had one beneficiary, 100%. Entire account was going to go to him, and I asked him, I was like, "Oh, so you have one kid?" And he's like, "No, I have 3." And I was like, "Do you know you just have one beneficiary on the account?" And he's like, "Oh, but I have all 3 kids in my will." And I was like, "That's not how it works.
Right?
Like, whoever is the beneficiary of your IRA, they're gonna get your money regardless of what your will says." And he's like, "Well, in that case, I'll get you the information from my other 2 boys."
Man. Yeah, it's funny, and we often say, you don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely.
But I've had a conversation similar to that where the person who owned the account, they had only one child listed.
Okay.
And they're like, well, so and so is just going to handle it, and they'll be responsible for divvying it up. And which is fine.
Yep.
That could happen.
Could happen.
But it might not.
That's true.
Let's say there's, what often happens in death is that there can be friction amongst the family members. And if someone says something to somebody else and now, they're upset and they've inherited all the money to divvy up, they're like, well,
I don't have to do anything.
I don't have to.
It was in my name. Come on.
And it can cause more issues than what was originally intended. So having those beneficiaries updated and correct, and not putting it on, one of your children or one of your beneficiaries to make sure that everything's divided equally. Because, you don't want to put someone in that position.
So you actually bring up a good point. A couple years ago, we had a situation where the beneficiary passed away, and then there was no beneficiaries on that account once it passed over to them because they passed away within a week. So it was like, what happens to that money? So if you don't have people in place, bad things can happen, or it gets put in probate for for years, and before you know it, you don't have access to the money when you thought you're gonna have access to it.
So I'm just thinking of other stories that
I know, right?
That it's happened to, not, and this is totally off 401k, but money in motion, death and is part of that money in motion. But this was a client, accounts here were all joint with rights of survivorship. So husband, wife.
Okay.
So everything naturally would move from one spouse to the other.
Sounds great.
In their accounts with another advisor that they had, one out of the 2 accounts that they had was not joint with rights of survivorship, when it should have been.
Yeah. What was it instead?
It was just individual.
Oh, wow.
So, and this was significant,
we're not talking $10.
Yeah, we're not talking a small balance. And what ended up happening is now, instead of everything transferring to the spouse, it had to go through probate.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, this estate took forever to get finalized, and the client ended up spending, I think, north of $50,000 in attorney fees.
Oh my!
For this one account.
Yeah.
And when it could have easily been taken care of from the start,
absolutely,
if the account was, plated and listed correctly. And it's unfortunate, you know, in the end, it was a win for us because we had
Absolutely.
had it listed correctly. But you know, it's things like that you know, little details can make huge impacts.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
I mean, just $50,000 in attorney fees.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Oh, and it just kept getting pushed off, and you know,
Talking about, like, how many, like, years?
Oh yeah,
Jeez.
yeah,
My gosh.
Yeah. Yep. So
Well, no more vacations.
Right. Yeah. So, but yeah, you know, so you kind of getting back to, you know, the original topic as far as money in motion,
Yeah.
switching careers, switching, you know, whether it's you're being laid off or you decide to start a new job somewhere else, you know, making sure that your accounts are titled properly,
Absolutely.
making sure that you're staying up to date on everything, you know, because those things that come up, you know, whether it's death, marriage, you know, new children, grandchildren,
Yeah.
those things all need to be up to date as well, because something may happen where, you know, your ultimate wishes aren't what's being fulfilled.
Absolutely.
So cool. Well, thanks for coming in.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
I mean, now that we're in our own studio, it's kind of right there, but
It was a short trip. Short trip
right.
to get here.
But appreciate everyone tuning in.
Yes.
Obviously, if you have any questions or want to learn more about the process of reviewing your old 401ks, feel free to reach out to us. We're always more than happy to help. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to like it and share it and subscribe to our videos moving forward on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. Thanks, everyone. That better? All right. Do we have to clap again?
1, 2, 3.
Oh.